Hey, welcome back to Product Chronicles, the only place where we autopsy failed tech products with the same care and curiosity usually reserved for alien spacecraft. If you are new here, I'm the guy who screams at product roadmaps and cries when onboarding flows break. Nice to meet you. Today we're diving into the heart-melted wreckage of one of the most overfunded, overhyped, overdesigned ideas of last decade, a product that literally had more money than Donald Trump and still managed to trip over its own billion-dollar shoelaces. Yep, we're talking about Quibi. Quibi asked the old question, what if Netflix, but with none of the features you actually like? And the answer came quickly, decisively, and from the entire internet: nope. So whether you are a product manager, a startup, masochist, or just someone who enjoys watching VC-backed disasters unfold in real time, this is your episode. We are talking about vision, ego, timing, UX crimes, and why Hollywood shouldn't be allowed to design apps. Oh, and by the end, you'll be able to confidently identify a product that's headed straight for the wall, and maybe even steer your own away from the same fate. Assuming, of course, that you are not already working on TikTok for cats, in which case please keep going, I need that in my life. Let's start at the beginning. April 2020, the world is in lockdown, everyone's stuck at home. Screens are our only friends, and into this void steps Quibi, short for Quick Bites, a name so aggressively startup-y, it feels like it was generated by ChatGPT after 2 Red Bulls and a TED Talk. The pitch: short-form content, 10-minute episodes, high production value, watchable only on your phone because you know we are all just so on the go during a global pandemic. It was mobile only, not mobile first, mobile only, no desktop, no smart TV, no Chromecast. If you wanted to watch their content, you had to stare at your phone like a caveman discovering vertical video. And who was behind this masterpiece? Jeffrey Katzenberg, yes, the same Katzenberg who helped create the Disney Renaissance in the 90s and co-founded DreamWorks Animation. The man gave us The Lion King, Shrek, and somehow Quibi. Then there is Whitman, former CEO of eBay, who scaled the company from 5 million to 8 billion. She also tried to run for governor of California in 2010, burned through 140 million of her own money and lost, which in hindsight was a nice warm-up for Quibi. Combined, they had the resume of a corporate Voltron, but unfortunately they also had the instincts of people who last touched a consumer app in 2007, back when mobile first meant your phone could play Snake. And what are they up to now? Katzenberg's gone quiet, probably somewhere developing the next billion-dollar flop or perfecting the art of denial. Whitman, on the other hand, was appointed US ambassador to Kenya in 2022 because apparently launching a failed app qualifies you for international diplomacy. Makes sense. After Quibi, managing global relations probably seems easy.
Where did you learn your silky customer relations skills?
What do you want?
Here is where the product logic starts to melt like a cheese slice in a microwave. Quibi assumed people were too busy for traditional content, that we were all running from meeting to meeting, desperately craving a 10-minute script drama starring Liam Hemsworth. But 2020 had other plans. No commutes, no waiting rooms, just sweatpants, anxiety, and binge-watching 6-hour true crime docs while housing microwave burritos. Instead of pivoting, Quibi doubled down. They didn't even launch a TV app until after announcing they were shutting down. That's like selling umbrellas in the desert and then opening a water park as your goodbye party, and a lot of that came down to how they were structured. Quibi's product organization was built more like a film studio than a modern tech company. Katzenberg ran content like a movie mogul, calling the shots from the top. Product and engineering were secondary, more like support roles than drivers of innovation. There wasn't a true CPO leading a cross-functional product org. Instead, decision-making was highly centralized and largely divorced from users' data. Product management, where it existed, served mostly to execute a top-down vision, not to iterate based on insights or drive prioritization. It was classic waterfall, but with velvet ropes and red carpet budgets, long planning cycles, no public betas, no A/B testing culture, no user research loop built into the org. The app was launched more like a feature film premiere than a SaaS product rollout. If you wanted to do product right, you'd need to flip the structure, give PMs ownership, empower cross-functional squads, embrace continuous discovery, and treat content as one layer of value, not the entire proposition. But at Quibi, that kind of thinking wasn't just missing, it was actually out of style. And the anti-sharing policy? Oh boy, you couldn't screenshot anything, you couldn't share a scene, you couldn't even post a trailer. They were terrified someone might see their content, a bold stance for a video platform. It was like building a nightclub and refusing to let in anyone who dances. Meanwhile, TikTok was doing laps around them. Free, addictive, community-powered. Quibi was paying millions for scripted skits no one watched. That's like trying to outfish the ocean with a gold-plated rod and no bait.
Why does this keep happening to me?
Now let's talk Turnstyle, their much hyped proprietary tech. Yes, this wasn't some gimmick tossed in at the last minute. Quibi filled an actual patent for it. The idea was to allow users to seamlessly flip between vertical and horizontal views mid-scene with no black bars, no buffering, just instant cinematic magic. Turnstyle was one of the few things Quibi technically executed well on paper, but in reality about as fun as rotating your phone every time your friend sends a video sideways. It was a classic example of over-engineered brilliance solving a problem nobody had. Directors were forced to frame every shot for two orientations, which meant shooting everything twice or using painfully neutral compositions that pleased no one. And users, they didn't care. Most people just pick one way to hold their phone and keep holding it. Nobody asked for interactive phone gymnastics while trying to watch a murder thriller in peace. The app itself wasn't much better. The navigation felt like it was designed by a committee of UX designers who'd never met each other. You'd think a billion-dollar company could give you something smoother than a better Tumblr clone from 2011, but no. Buttons were hidden, logic was inverted, and recommendations were, let's call them, experimental. You know how Spotify gives you playlists you didn't know you needed? Quibi gave you shows you definitely didn't want. The entire experience screamed built for a pitch deck, not a person. And people noticed, mostly because they bounced within the first 3 taps.
And I am out of here.
They spent over $100 million on marketing. That's not a typo, 100 million, and yet they somehow failed to explain what the app actually was. One ad said it was like HBO in your pocket, another said it was like TikTok with a film budget, another said it was, well, I think one ad just had Idris Elba making intense eye contact for 30 seconds. Hard to tell. And the pricing? It was $4.99 with ads and $7.99 without, in a world where TikTok is free, YouTube is free, and your Netflix passport is probably stolen from your cuisine. What did Quibi offer in exchange? Drama shorts starring washed-up TV actors and zero cultural relevance. They launched with over 50 shows. 50, that's not a catalog, that's a cry for help. There was no algorithmic curation, no editorial focus, no flagship series, just a dump truck of digital content backed by raw panic. The result? High churn, low retention, and one very sweaty investor update. I assume it ended with Katzenberg muttering, "We are pivoting to NFTs," and logging off. By October 2020, just 6 months after their grand launch, Quibi shut down. The billion-dollar dream died faster than your New Year's resolutions. Katzenberg blamed the pandemic. He said people weren't commuting, so Quibi lost its use case, which is like blaming gravity when your balloon pops. Sure, technically true, but maybe don't build a business that only works during rush hour. Whitman left with minimal drama, probably joined another board, maybe took up gardening. Meanwhile, Quibi's content was sold to Roku for pennies on the dollar. The truth is, Quibi didn't fail because the content was bad. Some of it was fine. It failed because the entire product was built around the wrong behaviors, the wrong assumptions, and the wrong decade. Now, if we are putting on the product manager hat here, and let's be honest, we never took it off, there were a few major missing ingredients. Let's start with the obvious. They skipped early discovery. They didn't validate the core assumption that short-form, mobile-only, high-budget content was something people actually wanted. If they had done proper ethnographic research or even a few lightweight MVP experiments, they might have seen that users weren't screaming for prestige drama on a 6-inch screen. Secondly, they ignored distribution. No product lives in a vacuum, especially a consumer-facing media platform. Launching without a way to share, embed or virally spread content is like trying to host a party without telling anyone where it is. They could have leaned into community building, allowed creators to co-market content, or simply designed a native sharing feature from day one. Instead, they walled off the platform and then wondered why no one came in. They also needed better feedback loops. Early data was probably screaming, people open the app once and bounce. A product-led team would have pivoted fast, maybe testing watch-alongs, comment systems, creator tools, or even rethinking the entire UX flow, but it seems they were too busy defending the vision to listen to users. Lastly, Quibi's failure wasn't a lack of features, it was a lack of empathy. They weren't solving a painful user problem. They were trying to manufacture a habit, and worse, they assumed it would stick because they had money and big names. But behavior isn't bought, it's earned. There was no product market fit, there was no network effect, there was no retention strategy, it was all polish, no stickiness, a perfect case study in how not to build a media product.
This is crazy. This is literally crazy. Are you people insane?
So here is the moral. If you build a beautiful spaceship but aim it at the wrong planet, don't be shocked when no one shows up to the launch party. If your product can't be discovered, shared or enjoyed by actual people in actual moments of their lives, then no amount of celebrity cameos will save it. Innovation is great, invention is sexy, but execution, that's where the magic lives or dies. Thanks for watching Product Chronicles. Smash that like button, hit subscribe and tell me in the comments what's the next product disaster we should roast. And if you still have the Quibi app installed, please, for the love of UX, let it go.